don't know about you guys, but fall is genuinely my favorite time of the year. It's not so hot that every time you go outside, you're literally melting and just want to come right back inside. And it's also not so cold that you get angry for going outside, which if that doesn't happen to you, I'm genuinely so happy that happens to me. I don't like being cold. Anyways, so fall is like that perfect middle ground where the leaves are turning, everything has that fall hue. The pumpkin spice latte comes back. I've actually never tried one, and that is something that I'm going to correct this coming fall. But just know that as soon as September 1st hits, it's fall in my head. I live in South Texas. Is it gonna feel like fall? Absolutely not. It probably won't feel like fall until late November, and that's okay, because I'm nothing if not delusional, Delusional babies unite, But with all that being said, fall reading comes into play heavily. I love fall reading to my core. I love summertime because summer reading is so sweet and it's so fun, but I love who I am in the fall, and I love the books that I read in the fall even more because you get to curl up with a nice little thriller or a nice, fantasy or something that just gives those fall vibes. And it's genuinely, I can't think of a better time than that. So today I'm going to go through my fall TBR as well as some recommendations for fall. If you haven't read these books, these are some of my favorites from past years and books that I will be continuing to reread each fall. That is something about me. If you don't know anything about me, hi, I'm Jolie. Nice to meet you. I am a fall reader through and through, but I am a fall rereader. There's something about the fall time specifically, kind of going into winter, but mostly fall, where I just want to reread all of my favorite fantasies and fall themed books. And so I'm going to give you some of those today, as well as some newer ones that I've read that I feel like would be perfect for this time of year. And hopefully it is colder where you are, so you don't have to, be delusional and pretend. Anyways, I have an extensive TBR here that I would like to read for this fall. Is this kind of crazy? Probably. But again, I am nothing if not delusional, so we're gonna get into it. Number one, this book was actually sent to me. It's called Nanny Needed by Georgina Cross. I actually hadn't heard of it before the author sent it to me, but after reading the back of it, it genuinely seems like it's going to be kind of the same storyline as The Wife Upstairs or Verity or The Housemaid. It's kind of giving The Housemaid vibes. It follows this woman named Sarah who is having a rough go of it. She needs a job. She needs a ticket out of where she is. She finds this little note in her building lobby, which is weird, and it's giving her an address to a new job that she could potentially end up getting. And she ends up getting to this job, and there are questions that she just needs answered ASAP. Like, what happened to the nanny before her? Why does the wife of the family that she's working for never leave the apartment? She honestly can't tell anybody about it because she had to sign an NDA. So it's very much giving The Housemaid vibes, which I'm kind of excited about. I've never read from Georgina Cross before, so hopefully it's good. We're gonna see. But it was kind of giving me fall vibes just because of the storyline, the plot. I read The Housemaid during the fall, so naturally it made sense in my head. Does it make sense to you? Probably not. Okay, the next one that I want to read is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I am feeling like a huge dark academia vibe this fall. I was never really big into dark academia before last year. I want to catch up on all of the good dark academia books that's come out in the last couple of years. Again, I'm behind. So I have no idea what this book is about. Apparently 6 friends, 1 college reunion, and 1 unsolved murder. Honestly, I'm in. Sign me up. That sounds great. Then following that dark academia stage, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I've heard so many of the people that I trust talk about this book and love this book, and it's making me want to read it. I did actually try to start this book last fall, I think, and I just was not in the mood for it. I couldn't really get into it, but I want to give it a second try to see if it's something that I do actually want to get into. So hopefully that it's something that I like. I already own the second book, which is Hellbent, I think. So I have both of the books. Hopefully I'll love both of them. We're gonna add Hellbent onto this list, but that's of course dependent on if I like Ninth House enough to continue that book. We'll see. But apparently this is like a Yale Secret Society type deal, which again, sign me up. It sounds great. Okay, then I had this author reach out to me. I guess she found me on my TikTok, and I was talking about how I'm in my autumnal kind of fantasy era right now, because I very much am. And she sent me 3 of her books because she's like a witchy kind of autumnal author. So the first one that she sent was Toil and Truffle, a Gloam Hollow cozy witch mystery. So it's about a witch who in her town of Gloam Hollow, there's like witches, vampires, dread monsters, werewolves, fairies, and even trolls. There's a murder that happens in her town, and she naturally is like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this and I'm gonna figure it out. Genuinely love that for her. This book seems like super short too. Oh, it's less than 250 pages. I will be eating this up. Then I did already start this last night, but it's Autumn of the Grimoire, which is the first book in the Sister Solstice series by J.L. Vampa. That's the author. So it seems like it's this witch who her and her sisters have done their job to try to like keep peace among the fantasy realm, and she ends up having to go and marry a prince who she does not like. He is described as a pompous prince, and I'm assuming it's going to kind of be like a forbidden love. Like, is she going to pick the prince or is she going to pick the grimoire who's been sending her all of these places? Again, sign me up. I've already started this one. I read a couple pages last night just to kind of like get the vibe. I think I'm going to end up loving this book. And then the last one that she sent me was Stolen Magic, which is described as a witch, a pub owner, a crew of misfit criminals, and the largest diamond heist in history. Giving found family, thieves. It's about Jonas and Yenna, who are pub owner and a journalist, and they moonlight as criminals, as thieves. I'm excited to get into all of these because they just seem like super quick, fun, kind of vibey read. Then the next one that I have, there's actually one missing from this list because it's not going to be delivered until tomorrow, but I'll put up a picture somewhere. I have a Patreon book club, if you didn't know. We're on Patreon over there, and we have 2 books picked out for this month, and the theme is like fall reading. So the first book that actually won, the first book that we're going to be reading for the month, is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I genuinely have no clue what it's about, but I saw purple sprayed edges and it looked so vibey and autumnal and just everything that I wanted for fall vibes this year, and then ended up winning our book club pick, which is like so cool, such good timing. So this is going to be one that we also read. And then the second book of the month that we're going to be reading for like the second half or whatever, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which I'll put a picture of it somewhere, and I'm genuinely so excited to read that book. It gives very much like old lady reading in her little like cottagecore home, and like I'm absolutely loving it. So these are the 2 books that we're going to be reading. I'm genuinely so excited about it. Yeah, I'm just excited to get into it, and like these are going to be the first fall, like actual fall reads that I'm going to be reading this month, and I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited about it. Okay, then this one I have actually already started, but that is Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. I've heard so many people talk about this book, and it's just made me so interested in it. Literally, I posted a video talking about Gothicana on my TikTok. Almost every single one of the comments was, have you read Nocticadia? Please go read it. So I'm like 50 pages into it already. I'm super excited to finish it. This is a thick book, so I'm reading it on my Kindle, but I wanted the physical copy of it because I was already like loving the vibes. Anyways, safe to say, I'm going to be enjoying it. So this follows a woman whose mother succumbs to this like weird, mysterious illness, and she spends her time trying to figure out what happened to her mother, and she ends up getting this acceptance letter from Dracadia University, which is like this really prestigious old school university, and they're studying, I guess, this disease or something of the sort. Yeah, I've already started it, and it's already starting to give like creepy kind of October vibes almost. Then we also have Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I've been wanting to read this book, and I just recently found out that it's on Kindle Unlimited. By the way, Nocticadia is also on Kindle Unlimited, but I found out Belladonna was on there, and I just immediately bumped it up on my TBR, because here's the thing, if I can read a book on Kindle, I'm going to, and if I don't have to pay for it, that's even better. So yeah, the only thing that I know about Belladonna is that the MMC is death itself, and like he can't unalive her. That's kind of the vibes that I've been getting, like she just like is immune to him, something like that. I don't know, but it's YA, kind of giving fantasy, and the MMC being death, just like nail in the coffin. I absolutely would like to read this now. Give it to me, please. I guess I probably should have done this in genres, but honestly, organized chaos. Then I have White Horse Black Knights by Evie Marceau. I really hope I'm saying her name right. Bestie Bailey actually was the one that told me about this book, and she was talking about how much she enjoyed it, and it has something to do with Fae and her having to marry a Fae, and she's like imprisoned, if I'm not mistaken. Don't know. Genuinely, I'm just excited for the vibes of this book because it is gorgeous. That's gorgeous. Again, I think this is also on Kindle Unlimited as well. This fall is going to be, me and my Kindle are going to become very much acquainted this fall. Not like we weren't before. It's just going to be on a new level this fall, I have a feeling. So anyways, Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This has taken TikTok by storm, quite literally. Every one of my mutuals, everyone that I follow has been talking about this book. Don't know what it's about, but as soon as I was like, okay, like this is a lot of people that are loving this book, I ordered it. It's also on Kindle Unlimited, but I did order the physical copy because I just know it's going to get picked up traditionally and they're going to have a cover change and I'm going to want the original cover. So I picked up the original cover. It's something to do. It's fantasy. It's fantasy. That's all I know. Then I also picked up The Coven by Harper L. Woods. I picked this up randomly at Target because look at these sprayed edges. Are you kidding me? These are gorgeous. I don't know much about it other than it's kind of witchy, and the second book is The Cursed. Kind of witchy. It's giving autumnal. This could be giving winter for all I know, but to me right now, as it is at this moment, it's giving fall for me. So it's getting included in this video. And then another TikTok sensation. We were really hyping up the fantasies this year and I'm kind of loving it, but When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I've heard so many people talk about this book. This is one that I've actually heard more mixed reviews on. People are saying how it's either really slow and kind of like lacking plot, and other people rated it 5 stars. They literally could not get over it. This was like one of their favorite reads of ever. And I don't know where I'm gonna fall in that. I just know I will be listening to the audiobook to accompany it because this is a huge, it is literally the size of my head, if not bigger. So yeah, I will be picking up the audiobook for this to read alongside, not in place of, because I don't like just listening to audiobooks for fantasy books because I feel like I need to be reading it too. The audiobook just helps me understand it better. So I will be doing both for this one. I can tell you that right now. Then I also picked up a cozy fantasy, which I've never read a cozy fantasy before. I don't think any of the books that I've picked out on this list so far have been cozy fantasies, but I picked out Cant Spell Treason Without T, which is a Tomes and Tea book 1 by Rebecca Thorne. Again, it has the spray painted edges and it's a fantasy book. Look at that. Look at that. You can't tell me that's not giving cozy fall vibes. It's absolutely giving cozy fall vibes. This is probably honestly going to be one that I read on my honeymoon because I'm getting married in November, end of November. We're going and taking a honeymoon right after that. So I think this might be the one that I bring for that trip. Maybe, we'll see. But I definitely want to read it this fall because again, I've never read a cozy fantasy before and I'm excited. Then a swift turn into heartbreaking, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Everybody has been telling me that I need to get into Kristen Hanna because they just assume that it's going to be something that I like, and I trust y'all. I'm just scared. First of all, again, this book is super thick, so I'm probably going to have to pick up the audiobook for it as well. But it scares me because they're saying how I'm going to sob while reading this book. And I've seen it on so many people's like favorite books of all time list. And they've raved about this book. I don't know what it's about. I just know that Kristen Hanna writes historical fiction, which is not a genre that I normally read. So it also is probably why I'm a little apprehensive about it because I don't read really any historical fiction. I genuinely think the last historical fiction book that I read was Stalking Jack the Ripper. A little bit of a different vibe from that. So no idea, but I will be reading it this fall. I want to get into Kristen Hanna this fall. I also want to read, what's another book by her? Firefly Lane. And I really want to read The Four Winds by her because I think Four Winds is set in Texas. And if you don't know, I'm from Texas. So honestly, vibes. Okay, then we have one more dark academia book, which is Babel by R.F. Kuang. Again, so many of my mutuals love this book, and I'm scared of it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm terrified of this book because I don't know if I'm smart enough to read it. Simply put, I don't know if I'm smart enough to read it. The normal color scheme for the books that I read are pink, orange, light blue. We even have some light greens being thrown in there or some mix of those colors. I'm literally looking at my bookshelves and it's all book, except for all those behind me because those are all like YA fantasy, but like the rest of my books are all bright colored, mindless reads. So this terrifies me. We're gonna try to read it anyways. Then a couple thrillers that I have, honestly the last couple of books that I have for this TBR, but the first one is The Fury by Alex Michaelides. Somebody told me how to say his last name and I promptly forgot. So that's great. I should probably look it up. I don't know what this book is about. However, I read The Silent Patient and The Maidens by him. Loved both of those books. So I think he's just like an author that I am enjoying, that I will enjoy reading regardless of what he writes. And this was his newest release. It came out like a couple of months ago. And yeah, I have no idea what it's about. I don't really need to know what it's about. I don't like going into thrillers knowing what they're about. So I'm just going to pick this up blindly whenever I'm in the mood for his writing again, which will definitely be at some point during this fall. Okay, last two on this list, we have The Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. I don't know if these actually give fall in any shape, way, or form. I know she also wrote There Is No Devil in whatever other book in that duology or that duet. That is also something that she wrote that I would like to read as well. And then she also just wrote something else that was like very fall-ish, fall-esque. I think it might have been Grimm. I don't know, but I want to get into her books regardless. Please don't tell me if they're set in summer or if they give summer. Who cares? Last but not least, we have Misery by Stephen King. I try to read at least one Stephen King book every year to every couple of months to every 6 months. I just try to get a Stephen King book in whenever I can, because they are a commitment for the most part. This is actually, I think, the shortest book that I own by him, and I've been wanting to read it for a really long time. The cover is giving winter, so maybe I'll read this during the winter. I want to read this during fall. I want to read this very, very soon, and I'm excited to get into it. I've loved every Stephen King book that I've read so far, so I don't think that this will be any different. That is the physical TBR that I have for this fall. I'm genuinely so excited to get into all these books. Like every time I pick one up, I'm like, oh, like I want to read that now. Oh my gosh, I could read that now. And then it just becomes like, okay, Jolie, literally just pick one. Like literally just pick one. That's it. Anyways, so those are the books that I would like to be reading. You'll probably start seeing in the coming months in videos on here and just in general, if you follow my TikTok or my Instagram, whatever, those are the TBR books. Now, let's get into the books that I would recommend you read for fall, winter, whatever times. In that, also some books that I reread every year and every fall because it hits me. It hits me. Number one, I recently read this in my 24-hour readathon that I did, but Hollow Heathens by Nicole Fiorina. This actually is a part of a duet. I don't know if there's going to be more books. Right now there's only 2 books, but the next one is Bone Island. This one follows a girl who has to come back to her hometown because her grandfather is sick, and he asks her to come back. And in this town, there's like 2 witch covens, and one of them are the Hollow Heathens. She ends up meeting some men from the Hollow Heathens, and it just turns into this kind of like forbidden love aspect where they can't be together, but they like really like each other, and he's kind of mean to her. It's so good. It's so good. The town is witchy. The vibes are there. It is very much an autumnal kind of witchy paranormal vibes. If that's what you are into, that is going to be this book. Then, speaking of Alex Michaelides, Alex, The Silent Patient by him. This is an interesting one because I've heard the same thing from other people, in that the first time that I tried to read it, I softy enoughed it. I just kind of like forgot about it. Then I tried to read it a second time, got like maybe 10 pages farther, also forgot about it. The third time that I picked this up, I devoured it and was genuinely so upset that I stopped reading it because it was so good. And honestly, I think this was the start of me figuring out that I love slow burn thrillers, because to me before, like, I wanted action right away, and I wanted there to be some kind of gripping action throughout the entire book, and that way I was never bored. Then I realized that like I also like putting the pieces together when the author gives you very little to work off of, but you're like slowly getting all of these little fragments of the full picture, and it's either up to you to put it together before the author tells you what happened, or you're just kind of like there collecting the pieces, and then like it all comes together at the end. This was the beginning of me figuring that out about myself, and I absolutely loved this book. I will be rereading this. I haven't reread it yet because I just finished it like 2 months ago, but I will be rereading this book at some point this fall. Yes, I will. Then we also have Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This one is giving more like fall for like the setting. They're snowed into this house that they were looking at, that they were trying to buy, and it happens to be the house of a psychologist who went missing years ago. That's all I'm going to tell you about it. But this one was definitely more of like, it's a Freida McFadden book, and that a lot of things are happening and a lot of things are getting thrown at you, and you're just having to try to figure out what actually fits into the story and what doesn't. If you're in a reading slump, it's super quick and it just gets you intrigued right away, and things just are constantly happening that kind of irritate you and kind of like doesn't make sense, but then it kind of also makes sense at the end. And it's really good. It's a really good read if you're looking for something that is going to keep your interest for the duration of the book. Then I also have The Outsider by Stephen King. This is one that I've read a couple of times, and I've read it in different formats. I listened to the audiobook, I read the physical book, done that a couple of times each, and I absolutely love this book. It is a devastating read, but the way that Stephen King winds together stories is so incredible. It's genuinely incredible. It follows a police officer. It actually follows a couple of characters, but mainly it follows a police officer who is trying to figure out the unaliving of a little boy in this town. All signs are pointing towards this little league coach that actually like worked with the little boy, and he's trying to figure it out, put all the pieces together, and Stephen King things happen from there. Genuinely so good. I would recommend this to anybody who has the stomach for it. Just know that there are children involved, so it is difficult to read about. Then getting into my fantasy reads, Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This is a trilogy. There's 3 books. It's half set in Prague and half set in the fantasy realm that Laini Taylor created. If you don't know who Laini Taylor is, she is the queen of super lyrical writing and just weaving together these really intricate worlds, and I just love everything about this trilogy. I've reread it so often. Can you see? Yeah, I've reread this book more times than you know, okay? And I've loved it every single time. It follows a girl, her family are all demons, and she is kind of caught in this war basically between the angels and demons when this angel one day cuts off all contact that she has with her family by closing all of the doors and all the portals that she had with her family. And so she's trying to figure out how to get her family back, and he is in the middle of this war trying to win the war for the angels. And so it becomes like an angels versus demon type thing where forbidden love, and I just love Laini Taylor's writing. I love this trilogy. Then another fantasy, we have The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This one is different in that it is more so set in London, kind of like a version of London, where clairvoyants are pretty much anybody with like powers. Our main character, Paige, is a clairvoyant, and she is trying to go undetected in London being a clairvoyant while there is this massive witch hunt going on, and she ends up getting caught and sent to basically what essentially is like a slave ring for clairvoyants, and she ends up making a team up basically with one of the higher ups of this organization. Yeah, it's a whole series. There's quite a few books in the series. I've read the first 2 books of it, and I'm planning on continuing on with the series, but I have reread this book specifically so many times. I just love it. I love the characters. It is a little bit slower and a little bit more dry, okay? There is no smut in this at all. I don't know if that's true for the rest of the series, but I know in this book that there is none. But I just love it. I genuinely love it, and I want to go back and reread it right now. If I could, I would absolutely do it. But yeah, this is also one that I'm going to be annotating the next time that I read it, because I haven't annotated this book yet, and I really want to. Then I also have 2 books that are just more fun, kind of vibey reads, which you've probably heard about these books around this time, but that is The Xhex and The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. The Xhex follows this girl and her cousin, I believe, who she gets drunk one night and she puts an hex on her ex accidentally. She does it on purpose, but like not really on purpose. She wasn't trying to. Her and her sister are witches, but like not her sister, her cousin. They're witches, but like she wasn't actually trying to hex him, but then she ends up hexing him, and he comes back into town and things just start going so wrong. And obviously her and her ex are like, okay, like it was an accident, you know what I mean? And then this one is following her cousin, who is not very good at dating at all, actually. It's really funny though. I just love these books. These are very lighthearted, fun read. They both own a witchy store too, which I find so funny, but these are literally just like books for vibes. It's like a witchy rom-com, to be so honest with you. Then last but not least, we have Gothicana by Runix. I was apprehensive about reading this book in the beginning because I genuinely had no idea what it was going to be about. I thought it was going to be so dark and demented and twisted, and it really wasn't. It was just kind of like chill the whole time. Again, this was very much like a vibey book. I was not expecting a ton out of it. But it follows this girl who's been homeschooled for a really long time. Like her mother homeschooled her, and she ends up getting accepted into, what's it called? New Haven? No, Varenmore. Varenmore is this college for people who have had really hard situations or just had really hard home lives. Varenmore takes them in and sets them up to either go on to colleges or careers or whatever. Anyways, so she comes into Gothicana, and it's this very, again, gothic kind of vampiric school. She meets Vad, who is kind of a teacher but also kind of a student still. Like, he's getting his doctorate, and so in order to like stay on campus, the school allowed him to help like teach some classes or whatever. So he's not like fully a teacher, but he's also not fully a student, I guess, if that makes sense. Her and Vad end up forming this really strong connection. There's like this murder mystery going on, there's history with the school and some like occult activity, and it was just, like I said, it was genuinely just a vibe and very much in time for September-y, October-y kind of like vibe book. Let's just start saying random words. Anyways, I know that was a lot. There were a ton of books on this list that I just went through, so I'm so sorry about that, but also not really, because fall is my favorite time of the year. I will say it again, and I'll continue to say it forever. I love fall, and I love everything that happens in fall. I love who I am in the fall. If you guys have read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them, what your star rating was, or what books are on your fall TBR, what books are on your radar and things that you're looking forward to reading and doing in the fall. Also, okay, look, I have never been a like fall drink girly. Like, I never was on the train for the pumpkin spice lattes. Like, I never really did any of that. So if you guys have any fall drinks that you think are super good, leave them down in the comments, because I want to know. I want to start trying the fall drinks. It's about time that I get on this train. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have not joined my Patreon yet, I absolutely would. Because we are, like I said, starting our fall reading, and then next month will probably be like our spooky season reading, and it's just so much fun hanging out over there. So if I see you over there, hello, hi, love you guys. If you want to see my face on any other place on the internet, just check the link in the description, because I will literally, all of my links are in there. So if you want to find me on anything, with the exception of LinkedIn, I'm not on LinkedIn. Anyways. Everything's down there. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye. Happy fall, guys.
I've never felt this way. Never thought I'd be